I often see people getting demonetized for reused content, and since YouTube has recently posted an update to its reused content policy explanations, it seemed to be a good time to go over this policy. The rules about what is reused content is buried deep within YouTube's support pages, in a hidden filing cabinet behind a door that says beware of the tigers. And quite predictably, many people just haven't read them. I've included a direct link to the policy document in my description, but I know most people don't read linked content, so I'm going to just read it with you and add my own thoughts. By adding my own thoughts and interpretations, along with editing in clips and graphics, it makes this video distinctly mine, and not a case of me reusing content created by YouTube's policy and monetization teams. Before we go over the rule itself, let's talk about YouTube's goals. It is possible to produce YouTube videos using almost zero effort or money. The simplest ways of doing this would just be by freebooting somebody else's video. But there are a whole lot of other things that are not quite freebooting, but are equally low effort and have effectively the same result. Often these videos are not going to be very good, but that doesn't matter. If you are doing something for zero cost, then every dollar of revenue is profit. Worse still, with no cost, you can churn these videos out at a scale which would overwhelm genuine content. YouTube is very aware of this problem, and the repetitive and reused content rules are an effort to prevent the monetization of this type of content. Do these rules work perfectly? No. Low effort channels still slip through, but just like a small number of unsolved murders isn't a sign that the whole criminal justice system has completely failed and that we should revert back to randomly executing the next scapegoat we see, YouTube's failure to detect and demonetize some of these channels doesn't mean it doesn't work at all. At YouTube's scale, even if they have a 99.9% detection rate, that would still mean a lot of low effort content slips through. You don't have to take my word for why these rules are in place. YouTube explains it here.
Right. So for the platform, when users come to YouTube, they want to see new, unique things that they can't find elsewhere. And so when they come to YouTube and there's just a lot of the same content that's reused, it really makes YouTube less valuable for the user.
Now, here is the exact reused content rule. As I said before, there is a link to it in the description. Reused content refers to channels that repurpose content that is already on YouTube or another online source without adding significant original commentary, substantive modifications, or educational or entertainment value. That seems a bit vague, doesn't it? How significant does something have to be significant enough? The same thing with substantive. How much entertainment value do you have to add? Why is this rule written in such an open way that leaves so much room for judgment? In part, this is to future rule the policies. In order to update a written policy, Google has to go through a process. First, work out what they want the new policy to be. Find wording to express that policy intent. Translate that policy into over 80 languages. Have legal review the new policy in every single jurisdiction that Google operates in. And for some changes, they have to lock everybody's accounts from uploading until they have opted in and consented to the new rules. And most of this will be done by the medium of meetings and long discussions. This is a costly and time-consuming operation. If YouTube had a specific rule like don't upload text-to-speech videos of the top Reddit posts, then it would have to revise it when somebody starts to upload text-to-speech of popular public domain novels. If YouTube had to revise the rules every time someone worked out a new way to abuse YouTube, then YouTube would forever be playing catch up, even worse than it currently is. Furthermore, there are some situations that are just not cut and dry. Situations that you need human judgment in order to get a just outcome. The complexity of the human condition requires a degree of flexibility. That being said, YouTube just doesn't leave us with this rule. It then goes on to expand and explain the ideas further. What is allowed to be monetized? We want to reward creators for original and authentic content that adds value to viewers. If you put a funny or thoughtful spin on content that you did not originally create, you've transformed the content in some way, it is fine to have this type of content on your channel. But individual videos may be subject to other policies like copyright. Note, while these examples do not violate the reused content monetization policies, other policies, such as copyright, still apply. YouTube is very insistent that these rules are not about copyright because there are things that are permitted by the reused content policies, such as AMVs, that violate copyright. And there are things that copyright allows, such as text-to-speech readings of public domain books, that are not allowed by the reused content policy. While there's a bit of a relationship between the two, the question of content is judged on an access that is independent of copyright. If copyright is left to right, then reused content is up and down. Now, it goes on to some examples of what can be monetized within the reused content policy, using clips for critical review. I am sure you've seen any number of videos about anime or movie making where they've used clips to illustrate the things they were talking about. A good example of this would be the series Every Frame's a Painting. A scene from a movie where you've rewritten the dialogue and changed the voiceover. This one is also pretty self-explanatory. They are talking about things that follow the tradition of the great Australian/Italian movie Hercules Returns, where a movie is redubbed, or Team 4 Star's excellent DBZ Abridged. Replays of a sports tournament where you explain the moves a competitor did to succeed. I'm not a physical sports kind of person, but I do like people explaining esports strategies. Again, the rules here are clear. Take something and create something new and unique to you about it. Okay, on to the big one. Reaction videos where you comment on the original video. Now, this one is rather ambiguous, as there are a lot of things termed as reaction video. Do they mean corridor crew style reaction videos that uses a clip as a jumping off point for an expert to introduce new facts and insights? Do they mean blind reactions to long-form edited content? Or do they mean XQC's empty chair? I am going to skip ahead in this document because later on they talk about what isn't permitted, and they say content that gets views from mostly non-verbal reactions to your videos, out voice commentary, is not permitted. We are also given this from their video on the subject of reused content.
But you're adding your own spin to it that's really unique. And so whether that's you reacting to it, making a comment about it, adding to it, engaging in a dialogue with it, sharing your expertise, what we're looking for.
Expert commentary is clearly allowed, and silent reactions is clearly disallowed. Between these two extremes, there are a lot of things that are called reactions, and it's not very clear which side of the boundary this content lives on. Where does YouTube draw this boundary? At this point, I'm going to step into a more speculative mode. I genuinely think this is a form of strategic ambiguity. If they declare that Asmongold style reactions can't be monetized and then demonetize his account, there is going to be a massive backlash. On the other hand, many creators do not like this style of content, and if it grows, it is going to further damage original content creation. But by not being clear where the cutoff is, they can avoid demonetizing the big React content creators while also being able to demonetize the smaller channels that do essentially the same thing. Would YouTube really write their rules in a way that would allow them to be more lenient with larger creators so they don't have to spend more money on support staff to deal with backlashes to their policy rules? I will let you decide that one. Also, in the same video that I've been referencing, YouTube tease that they are working on something extra with regards to monetization of React content, which might be a fix.
My team's working on a couple of experiences that we'd like to roll out to make this easier for creators.
But like most YouTube projects, it's going to take a while for this to get into circulation. Like they told us that we'll get A/B testing any day now. Edited footage from other creators where you add storyline and commentary. An example of this would be the stuff from Wendover Production. Most of their content is video essays over stock footage, but they've edited and contributed their own commentary, which takes them out of the realm of reused content. Edits to remixed content on shorts, like adding original content to a song from our library, adding original audio and video segment from other videos to your content. YouTube really wants to encourage remix culture with shorts, so it makes sense that they are going to be more lenient in the shorts area. Content that primarily features the uploading creator in the video. Using content that is about you is not reused content. The fact that there is this specific carve-out makes me suspect that perhaps they've watched some of Dark Viper AU's videos about React content. I know that sounds unlikely, but Dark Viper's videos are what you get when you search for videos about reaction content on YouTube. Reused content from other online sources where the creator is either visible or in the content or explains how the creator added to the content. I can't help but think this one shows there's a little bit of bias against faceless and Vtuber content producers when evaluating reused content. Lots of Vtubers and faceless people have successfully monetized, of course, but I know Vtubers have had a little bit more problems with this than our more faceful colleagues. Edited footage with audio and visual effects on top of the video's reused content that demonstrates substantial editing and shows that it is unique to your channel. This is for YouTube poops. After saying what isn't reused content, they go on to explain what definitely is reused content. Content that violates this guideline. Taking someone else's content, making minimal changes, and calling it your own original work would be a violation of this guideline. This policy applies even if you have permission from the original creator. Reused content is separate from YouTube's copyright enforcement, which means it's not based on copyright, permission, or fair use. For a third time, YouTube tells you that even if it's permitted by copyright, it can still be reused content. Fact that they say this a third time kind of suggests that they are sick and tired of people claiming YouTube should allow a video to be monetized because it's permitted by fair use. More examples of what's not allowed to be monetized. This list is not exhaustive. Clips of moments from your favorite show edited together with little or no narrative. People clipping together random best of Family Guy can't be expected to profit from other people's work. Short videos compiled from other social media websites. You can post all the TikTok compilations you like, but you just can't monetize them unless you add your own spin to them. Collections of songs from different artists. You can't monetize your mixtapes, no matter how fire they are. Content uploaded many times by other creators. Vtubers and VTuber clippers. This is one that can cause you to run into problems. YouTube's bots are stupid. If YouTube sees a whole lot of clips from the same live stream, they can get confused and think the live streamed video is reused content. This has happened to a number of VTubers when they've tried to monetize, including VTubers from HoloLive. So make sure that your clippers wait for about a day before they post clips to avoid this particular problem. Promotion of other people's content, even if you have permission. You can't just upload other people's trailers. If you want to monetize, you have to do something with that trailer. Content downloaded or copied from another online source without substantive modifications. I think they've basically said this 4 times already. It almost feels like they know that they are talking to the hybrid of a toddler and a disgruntled, demanding customer. One of the type who thinks if they reword their demand for the impossible in just the right word, it will become possible. No, ma'am. You can't flood YouTube with your freebooted content. It doesn't matter if you have permission. It doesn't matter if it's TikTok. It doesn't matter if it's Instagram. It doesn't matter if it's Newgrounds. The problem is you haven't made enough changes to make it your own. Content that gets views from mostly non-verbal reactions to your videos without added voice commentary. I covered that previously in the bit about React content. Just recording your face and slapping it on everything isn't enough to stop it being reused content. Of course, a fair proportion of this is me talking from a mostly theoretical perspective. I am not yet big enough to get monetized. If you want to help me get into more in-depth talking about YouTube monetization, please subscribe and watch my other videos so I can reach the monetization thresholds and be able to talk about these things firsthand.